No? Ang pinakaunang topic that we will cover for RFBT will be the law on obligation. Okay, so going back, ayun na nga, no? Ang pinakaunang topic that we will cover for RFBT will be the law on obligations. The law on obligations will account for 6 questions based on the current TOS of the BOA. Okay, and this will be governed primarily by the provisions of the Civil Code. Okay, kaya ito talaga ang unang topic natin kasi karamihan din ng mga babanggitin nating contracts eventually, no, or other topics that we will cover will have to refer to the law on obligations. Kaya natin to inuuna, no? Ito naman ay very traditional topic na that I suppose was covered under sa inyong undergrad, no? Pero we'll try to discuss it as in-depth as possible pa rin, no? Parang zero-based kumbaga para sa mga taong medyo mahina ang foundation with regards law, no, or RFBT. Anyway, so an obligation is defined under Article 1156 as a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do. Ang nagiging tanungan tuloy dito ay bakit ba ito tinatawag na juridical necessity? Okay, considering kasi na kung hindi natin magagawa yung obligation that is required of us, no, as it is established, nagkakaroon tayo ng legal cause of action. No, ibig sabihin ay pwede nating i-compel yung performance ng obligation through a court action, no? Kaya technically speaking, itong Article 1156 provides the definition for what we call a civil obligation, no? Kaya for that purpose, we make a distinction between what we call a civil obligation and that of a natural obligation. Kasi sabi nga natin, yung nagiging concept ng juridical necessity ay dito lang mag-a-apply sa tinatawag nating civil obligation kasi dyan lang nagkakaroon ng tinatawag na right of action. Now, that will be the basis kung bakit tayo ay makakapagkaso sa korte. Unlike yung mga natural obligations na walang right of action, kaya technically speaking, they are only based on our conscience, no? Kung gusto natin siyang i-perform or hindi. Yun nga lang, kahit ito ay natural obligation, kapag nagkakaroon ng voluntary fulfillment or performance on the part of the debtor, nagkakaroon din ng legal consequences kasi pinapayagan si creditor na i-retain, no, whatever it is he received under the natural obligation. Okay? Now, some authors that you will encounter would include a third classification na tinatawag nilang moral obligation, no? Pero in all technicalities, the moral obligation would fall under the classification of natural obligations na, no? Kasi you cannot compel their performance through a court action also. Ano ba itong mga moral obligation na yan? Yung mga religious obligations natin, no? So yung mga Katoliko na required magsimba dapat linggo-linggo, yung mga kapatid nating Muslim na bawal kumain ng baboy at dapat ay nagraramadan, kaya or nagfa-fasting during Ramadan, yung mga kapatid natin sa Iglesia ni Cristo na hindi pwedeng kumain ng dugo, no? Kaya kung kunwari ikaw ay Katoliko, may kaibigan ka na Katoliko din, no? Tapos nakikita mo hindi siya nagsisimba linggo-linggo, pwede mo bang kasuhan at dadalhin mo siya sa korte? Hindi, no? Kaya technically speaking, sa natural obligation lang din papasok, no? Itong classification natin ng moral obligation. Ngayon, sabi natin, even though there's no right of action that can compel the performance of a natural obligation, nagkakaroon pa rin ito ng legal consequence, no? To put it simply, like for example, sa prescribed obligation, no? Kunwari si debtor, may utang dito kay creditor in a written contract, siya ay nag-loan ng 10,000 pesos. No, sabihin na natin lumagpas na ng 10 years, kaya ibig sabihin prescribed na, no, yung kanyang right of action. Hindi na ngayon makakapagkaso dahil lumagpas na ng 10-year period. Kaya dito sabi natin nagiging natural obligation na dahil prescribed na yung obligation or hindi na makompel, no, yung performance niyan. Pero si debtor kung makonsensya at binayaran niya pa rin itong si creditor ng 10,000 pesos, papayagan natin si creditor na i-retain, no, yung binayad sa kanya. Yan yung nagiging legal consequences if there is voluntary performance or fulfillment of the natural obligation. Ganon din yung sitwasyon with regards to heirs, no? Kasi kunwari, etong si debtor, may utang dito kay creditor, sabihin na natin yan ay 1 million pesos. No? Tapos, namatay itong si debtor, tapos ang mga let's say ang tagapagmana niya ay si A, no? Pero ang minana lang ni A is worth 700,000 pesos lang. Technically speaking, no, transmissible ang mga obligations natin. Kaya kung ang tanong natin, utang ba ng anak yung utang ng tatay niya, no? Technically speaking, yes, yan. Yung mga malaking question talaga during the time of the elections ng presidential, no? Pero generally speaking, the answer is yes. Yun nga lang, ang obligation kasi ng heir will be to the extent of his inheritance only, no? Kaya technically speaking, hanggang 700,000 lang dapat yung magiging utang ni A kay C, no, na minana niya sa kanyang tatay. Yun nga lang, kung siya mag-voluntary performance pa rin na 1 million pesos, pa rin yung buong binayaran niya, pinapayagan pa rin dyan si creditor na i-retain na lang, no, yung excess na payment kasi may voluntary performance naman, no? But take note, the idea of voluntary performance is the knowledge that you cannot be compelled, no, to perform the obligation anymore. Kaya kung kunwari, naunang nagbayad, no, itong si A nung 1 million, bago niya nalaman na 700,000 300,000 lang pala ang kanyang minana sa kanyang tatay, pwede ba niyang bawiin yung 300,000? The answer is yes. No, because we cannot say na voluntary yung performance ng natural obligation sa 300,000 dahil hindi niya pa alam yung extent ng kanyang mamanahin. No, which again, the extent of the inheritance will be the extent of his liability as well. Okay? Again, basta may voluntary performance ng natural obligation, okay, pinapayagan na si creditor na i-retain yung payment na iyan. Okay? Now, the essential elements of an obligation will technically be four things. No? Meron tayong tinatawag na active subject. Ito rin yung tinatawag nating si creditor. Okay? Or in some instances in the law, ang tawag sa kanya ay obligee. No? This will be the person in whose favor the obligation was constituted. Kaya ibig sabihin, siya ang pwedeng mag-compel ng performance ng obligation that was constituted. On the other hand, may tinatawag tayong passive subject or other terms na ginagamit dito ay debtor or obligor. Okay? Siya naman yung person or party who is required to perform or fulfill the obligation. Okay? And pangatlo, yung tinatawag nating prestation, which will be the subject matter ng ating obligation, which will be to give, not to do, or not to do. Diyan yan papasok sa ating prestation. At yung ating tinatawag na vinculum juris, or in some instances, ang tawag dyan ay efficient cause, okay, or legal tie. No, as the name would suggest, this is the reason why the obligation exists in the first place, no, or the tie that binds all the parties together into the obligation. Kaya tinatawag natin itong mga essential elements kasi may isa lang na mawawala sa mga yan, hindi na yan obligation. No, ibig sabihin, they will be required for purposes of having a valid obligation. The absence of one which would mean that the obligation is non-existent na. Okay? Kaya tinatawag natin siyang essential elements of an obligation. Ngayon, meron tayong ayan. On the transmissibility of obligation as a general rule, as we have mentioned earlier, lahat ng nasa civil obligations natin are considered transmissible in character. No? But of course, being a general rule, meron tayo dyang exceptions. Hindi naman nagiging transmissible yung obligation natin if by nature it is personal in character. Like for example, personal qualifications ang kinonsider. No, kung bakit siya supposedly may ganong obligation. Kaya kung kunwari, no, magba-birthday ka, kinuha mo si Regine Velasquez para kumanta, no, sa iyong birthday o social, medyo malaki ang budget mo. No, tapos kung kunwari ayaw niyang mag-perform ng obligation, mamanahin ba ng anak niya yung obligation na yan? Hindi, no, kasi nga the personal qualifications were considered, okay, in establishing the obligation, or by the nature of the obligation itself, it is non-transmissible in character. Okay, like for example, yung obligation ng pagiging tatay, yung obligation ng pagiging nanay, no? Those are non-transmissible, yung paternal rights na meron tayo. Kaya kung kunwari, no, merong isa sabi niya, "Oh, Brad, bigyan mo na lang ako 10,000, ikaw na yung tatay ng anak ko." Pwede ba 'yon? Hindi, no? Kasi nga non-transmissible yung mga paternal rights or paternal obligations na meron tayo. Okay? On the other hand, an obligation may be transmissible but by stipulation it becomes non-transmissible na. A good example here will be that of a sublease. No, kasi generally speaking, kung kunwari si lessor entered into a contract with the lessee as a rule or by law will be allowed to sublease, no, the premises or the property that he leased. Okay? But by stipulation, pwede silang mag-agree na bawal, no? Kaya nagiging non-transmissible tuloy by stipulation of the parties. Or if it is non-transmissible by law, no? Like for example, that of a usufruct. Okay, sa use of rock ganito ang setup, no. Meron dito si A, may-ari kunwari ng lupa, okay? Pinaghiwalay niya yung use of rock at yung tinatawag nating title, no. Pero yung title to the land kasi dahil wala nga yung right to use, no, na nandoon sa use of rock, tinatawag lang na naked title. Kaya kung kunwari namatay si A, binigay niya sa isang anak niya kay B yung naked title, pero yung use of rock ay binigay niya kay C, no. Nagkakaroon tuloy ng magkaibang rights over the same land. Okay? Pero pag ito kasi si C ay namatay by legal provision or under the civil code, the use of rock goes back to the owner of the naked title. Kaya tinatawag natin siyang non-transmissible by law kasi hindi maipapamana ni C, no? Because by law dapat babalik yan sa owner ng naked title. Kaya nga pagdating nyo sa tax, yan din yung tinatawag na magiging exempt succession, no? Or hindi sinasama dun sa nagiging gross estate ni C, no? Because supposedly by legal provision, bumabalik lang siya sa owner of the naked title. Okay? So again, as a general rule, obligations are transmissible in character except if by nature, by stipulation, or by law, they are non-transmissible in character. Okay? Now, ito na ngayon yung ating tinatawag nga na vinculum juris, no? Or yung ating juridical tie or yung legal tie, no? Or kung bakit nag-e-exist yung obligation natin. Okay? Now, supposedly, under Article 1157, there are 5 sources of obligation or those that give rise to an obligation. There are some authors who would argue na dapat daw dalawa na lang, no? Ang classification dito, law and contracts na lang daw. Kasi yung quasi-contract, acts or omission punished by law or yung tinatawag nating delict, okay, and quasi-delict are all arising from law also, no? Pero tayo ay mga mortal lang. Kaya kung 5 ang in-enumerate sa ating Article 1157, 5 ang susundin natin na sources of obligation. Okay? So iisa-isahin natin ang mga ito. Beginning with obligation arising from law or yung tinatawag nating obligations ex lege. Okay? May dalawang bagay na dapat tandaan natin dito. Unang-una, the law or obligations arising from law are not presumed. No? Hindi natin yan ina-assume. No? Hindi katulad ng mga feelings mo na merong crush sa'yo yung isang tao, hindi kasali yan dito. No? Kasi pag obligations arising from law, dapat it must be clearly provided in the law itself, no? That there is such an obligation. Saan ngayon papasok ito? Kapag kunwari may duda, no? Kung merong doubt as to whether you are obligated or not under the law, the presumption would yield in your favor na wala kang obligation. Kasi nga, we don't presume the obligations arising from law na dapat ito ay clear. No? Kaya dapat meron sigurado talagang provision na nagbibigay ng ganyang obligation. A good example here would be the obligation to pay taxes. No? Kaya ganun yung nagiging rule natin with regards construction. Na kung kunwaring may duda kung applicable ba ang tax na ito sa isang taxpayer or not, no? The interpretation of the courts would normally be strictly against the government and liberally in favor of the taxpayer. No? When we talk about the imposition of taxes, considering nga that those arising from law are not presumed. And pangalawa, yung magiging governing rule natin. Na kailangan dito ina-apply natin the law which establishes the obligation itself. Yan ang ating susundin dito. Kung sakali lang na may circumstances na hindi kino-cover ng batas mismo, tsaka natin ina-apply ang civil code suppletorily. Ito, in-apply ng Supreme Court yan in one case. No? Supposedly, may isang kumpanya na nagbigay ng advances, no, sa kanyang sister company. So affiliate company itong dalawang ito. Okay? Now the BIR supposedly assessed A company for deficiency income tax and VAT with regards the imputed interest, no, na dapat daw ay kinita ni A company sa pinautang niya kay B company and DST. Kasi supposedly daw may debt instrument or may loan transaction nga. Now dito, now yung DST sabi ng Supreme Court, yes, applicable yan kasi nga merong debt instrument kahit na internal memo lang. Pero yung sa imputed interest, wala kasing ganyan sa tax code. No? And since the obligation here will be to pay taxes, it will be primarily governed by the tax code. No? Yun nga lang, walang provision regarding imputing interest income between two taxpayers. No? And ang sabi ng Supreme Court under the Civil Code, in order to be liable for interest, dapat daw ito ay in writing. At dahil nga walang stipulation in writing for the liability for interest, hindi nag-stand, no, na merong interest income si A company. So again, may circumstance lang na hindi kinover ng tax code kaya in-apply ang civil code. But primarily, the obligation arising from law should be governed by the law that establishes the obligation itself. Okay? Now, pangalawa will be obligations ex contractu or those arising from contracts. No? Although we will discuss this separately because it's an entirely separate topic from the law on obligations by itself. No? Pero at the outset, under Article 1305, a contract is a meeting of minds between two persons whereby one binds himself with respect to the other to give something or to render some service. Yung definition na yan, meron lang 3 defects but we will clarify that now when we get to the law on contracts na. Pero ang idea pa rin dito, sa lahat ng mga sources of obligation natin, dito lang merong concept ng agreement. Okay, kasi nga kailangan may meeting of minds, no, yung parties involved in the contract in order for an obligation arising from contract to arise. Okay, and yung tinatawag nating obligatory force that we will be discussing later on also, no, na supposedly a contract will have the force of law between the contracting parties in the sense, no, na kung merong non-compliance na mangyayari, parang batas din ang hindi natin sinunod, no, or kung may stipulations ang mga parties in the contract, it will stand as the law, okay, between the parties, no. Kaya tinatawag natin yung obligatory force at nagkakaroon tuloy ng obligation to comply in good faith, no, with all the stipulations agreed upon by the parties. Okay? Yung pangatlo ay yung tinatawag nating quasi-contracts. No, dito meron tayong 3 bagay na hinahanap, no, in order for there to be a quasi contract. Supposedly, no, meron tayong lawful, voluntary, and unilateral act. No? Kaya dito pa lang makikita mo na walang agreement between the parties kasi dapat nga unilateral. Hindi rin pwedeng sumasabay yung delict kapag quasi-contract ang pinag-uusapan kasi nga dapat lawful, no, yung ginawa nating act. Okay? And supposedly, there is a juridical relationship created between the parties because otherwise there will be unjust enrichment. No? So, kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng obligation dito dahil we are trying to prevent one party being unjustly enriched at the expense of another. No? So lahat ng klase ng quasi-contract na meron tayo, yung tatlo, yung ating hinahanap na mga elements. Okay? Now, nagkataon lang, meron tayong tinatawag na mga nominate quasi-contract. Kaya lang natin sila tinatawag na nominate quasi-contract other than having a specific designation, no, or merong tawag dito sa mga quasi-contract na ito, no, may specific rules na applicable lang sa quasi-contracts na ito, no? Kaya sila nagiging nominate at ito na nga yung mga paborito nyong Latin, no, beginning with negotiorum hestio, okay? Or gestio kung saan ka masaya. Kung ano man ang natutunan mo kasi pagdating naman sa board exam, hindi naman tinatanong yung pronunciation, no? Yun lang sa law school kasi ang tawag namin ay negotiorum hestio, no? 'Di ba yan? 'Di ba mas maganda siyang gamiting spell ng Harry Potter pag negotiorum hestio. Ang pangit ng negotiorum gestio, parang matigas, no? Kaya yung hestio na lang ang sundin natin. So ang idea dito is that there is an abandoned business or property and somebody else would voluntarily take over, no, without authority over that business or the management of that business or that of the property. Na ang nagiging requirement dito, however, for there to be a valid negotiorum hestio ay dapat nga neglected or abandoned yung property or business, no? Hindi ka kasali dito kasi yung neglected na person, sabihin, sir, ako neglected. Pag may nag-take over po ba, may negosyorum hestio, hindi kasali yan. Property or business nga lang. No? And supposedly nga, walang authority, no? That comes from the owner. Okay? So let's give an example. Kasi ito, natanong to sa board exam, sa bar exam dati. No? Supposedly, kunwari, ito si X. Meron siyang fish pond. No? Etong fish pond niya na ito, okay, ayan. Pero bago siya, tawag dito, si X ngayon ay pumunta sa Boracay. Ayan. Okay, nagbakasyon siya sa Boracay for 5 days and 4 nights pero bitin yan. No? Boracay is my island home. I go to Boracay at least twice a year. No? Or twice or thrice a year. Tama ba? Yes. This year, nakadalawa na ako. Kasi yan talaga dyan ako nagiging payapa. There was a time talaga when my mental health was at a very low. I went to Boracay. I was there for a month. No, nas isang buwan ako nandun. Sinabi ako yung CFO ko, kailangan ko ng time for myself. Pumunta ako ng Boracay mag-isa. Anyway, nagpunta siya ng Boracay for 5 days, 4 nights. No? Bakasyon lang. Tapos itong si Y, kaya nakita niya yung fish pond, sabi niya, uy, ready na for harvest ito kasi ang lalaki na ng mga isda. Hugis tao na. No? Kaya ang ginawa niya tuloy, hinarvest niya. Okay, itong mga isdang ito. Tapos bumili siya ngayon ng mga fishlings. Okay, para to replenish, no, at palakihin itong mga isdang ito. Ang tanong ngayon dito sa bar exam, no, is there negotiorum hestio, no, between the parties that will be involved? The answer is no, no, because supposedly dahil nagbakasyon lang itong si X, mayroon namang intention to return. Kaya we cannot say that the business was neglected or abandoned. Okay? Kaya supposedly magkakaroon pa rin ng intention to return, kaya walang negotiorum hestio. Pero kung babaguhin natin ng konti yung bar exam, no, sabihin natin kunwari si X ay pumunta na ng Canada. Okay, nag-enroll siya sa York University. Supposedly in order to study Masters of Law, no, in International Taxation. Okay, tapos pagkatapos siya ng balak niya ay magba-bar exam siya at doon na siya titira for yun yung plano ko. Talagang in-spell out na yung plano pero hindi na yan matutuloy, no, kasi nagbago na ng isip si Mrs. Sabi niya dito na lang daw kami sa Pilipinas, pero that would have been the plan, no, at ngayong June supposedly dapat nandun na kami pero nagbago nga isip niya noong January. Ayan, anyway, so yan na ngayon ang sitwasyon natin. Tapos ang ginawa pa rin ni Y, hinarvest niya nga yung mga isda, no, tapos bumili siya ng mga fishlings, nilagay niya ulit ng panibagong mga maliliit na isda para palakihin yung fish pond, no. Meron na ba tayo ngayong negosyorum hestio? The answer is yes, no, kasi we have an abandoned business, or again, ito hanapin natin yung tatlong elements ng quasi-contract. Okay? On the part of Y, there is a lawful, voluntary, and unilateral act. No? Lawful yung pag-take over niya ng business, voluntary on his part, and unilateral. No? Dahil wala naman silang agreement or walang tacit authority coming from X. There is now created a juridical relationship between the two of them that X should give compensation na dito kay Y. Bakit ngayon required si X na i-compensate si Y for his services? Because again, X may be unjustly enriched at the expense of Y. No? Kaya nagkakaroon tuloy ng quasi-contract. So again, present yung tatlo. No? There is a lawful, voluntary, and unilateral act. There is created a juridical relationship between the two of them because otherwise magkakaroon tayo ng unjust enrichment. In this case, ang tawag natin kay X ay si owner. Ang tawag natin kay Y ay gestor. No, yan ang nagiging term na ginagamit natin sa kanya. Or in some instances under the law, ang term na ginagamit ay officious manager. Okay, yan yung term na ginagamit natin para sa kanya. No, sir, kung negosyorum hestio, bakit hindi po hestor? Hindi ko rin alam. No, pero sa law school, ganyan i-pronounce kasi ng mga professors namin. Kaya susundin natin yan. Okay? So, eto na ngayon ang concept natin. Ngayon, kung kunwari, magkumpare pala itong si X at si Y, no? Kaya binigyan talaga siya ng authority. Nasabi niya, Brad, mag-migrate na ako sa Canada, ikaw na ngayon ang bahala doon sa fish pond ko. No? In that case, may negosyorum hestio ba? Wala. Kasi kung merong authority, ang magiging governing rules between the two of them will be that of agency. Okay, kung merong authority, no? Kasi requirement nga dati na dapat walang tacit authority coming from the owner, no? Otherwise, they will be governed by the law and agency at hindi na yan nagiging negosyorum hestio kasi hindi na voluntary and unilateral, no? On the part of why. Okay? Kaya sabi natin required na dapat ito ay abandoned or neglected in order for there to be negosyorum hestio. But take note, the requirement of being abandoned or neglected will not be required kung sakaling merong emergency. No, kung emergency situation yung kaganapan, hindi na mag-a-apply yung requirement natin na dapat abandoned or neglected pa. Kaya kung kunwari, doon sa earlier example natin na nagboracay lang si X, no, nagbakasyon lang. Pero ito supposedly kunwari nagkaroon ng bagyo, no? Kaya umaapaw na ngayon yung fish pond, nakakawala na yung mga isda. Kaya tuloy ginawa ni Y, hinarvest na para hindi lang makawala yung mga isda, may negosyorum hestio pa rin, no? Kasi nga kung emergency situation naman at kung emergency situation like that of fortuitous events, no, hindi na natin nire-require na dapat pang abandoned or neglected. Okay? So I hope we're clear with regards negosyorum hestio. Yung pangalawang nominate quasi-contract natin ay yung tinatawag nating solusio indebiti. Na ito, I suppose at one point or another ay na-encounter na natin sa buhay natin, no? Kasi dito kadalasan ang example lang ay yung may sobrang sukli, no? Kaya dalawa lang ang elements na hinahanap natin. There is supposedly payment by mistake, okay? And there is no right to retain the payment, no? Kaya yan ang nire-require natin for there to be solusio indebiti, no? May mistake of fact lang. Now, ito in-apply in one court case, no? Kunwari itong si X, okay? Nandito na sa US itong si X. So ang ginawa niya, inutusan niya yung kanyang bangko, si First National Bank, para padalan yung kumari niyang si Y, no? Na nandito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Sabi niya, First National Bank, padalan mo nga yung kumari ko ng $1,000 kasi kailangan niya yung kanyang pangmadyong. No? Kaya itong si First National Bank, engage the services of Melon Bank. Okay, this is an actual case, no? At yan talaga yung title, yan talaga yung pangalan niyan. Hindi ko yan inimbento, baka sabihin niyo inimbento ko lang yung Melon Bank. Okay? Itong si Melon Bank facilitated the transfer, no, papunta sa PS Bank. Yun nga lang inadvertently, yan talaga yung term na ginamit, no? Ayan. Para magamit nyo rin yan. Okay? Kasi ibig sabihin lang yan, hindi sinasadya. No? Hindi sinasadya. Ayan. Para mas maganda yung terms ng mga ginagamit nyo. O, diba? Sa lahat na i-discuss natin today, yan lang ang matatandaan mo. Inadvertently. Okay? Ang napadala nitong ni Melon Bank kay Y ay $1 million. No? Kaya nagkamali. No? Sumobra ng $999,000 yung kanyang pinadala kay Y. Pagdating tuloy sa bangko ni Y at nakita na ni Y yung pera niya, sabi niya, shit, ang dami. Oh my God, recorded nga pala tayo. Kaya kailangan po some. So pagkakita ni Y ng pera niya, no, sabi niya, ang daming pera, sabi niya, shucks. Oh, okay na, wholesome na. Muntang. Sabi niya, shucks, ang dami kong pera, no? So ang ginawa niya, tinawag yung asawa niya, sabi niya, na, honey, let's go shopping, no? Tapos punta sila dito sa lugar na to. Sabi niya, parang maganda tong lupan to, bigyan mo ako ng 3 niyan. No? Literal na namili sila ng mga real property, no? With regards the money. So kinasuhan ngayon ni Melon Bank itong si Y for the recovery of the $999,000. What would be the ground, no? Or the where the obligation to return the $999,000 arises from solusio indebiti. Okay, sa solusio indebiti yan nanggagaling kasi nga may payment, no, ng $999,000 na wala namang obligasyon nitong si Melon Bank na gawin yan at wala ring right si Y na i-retain yung payment kasi yung payment naman ay by reason of mistake lang, no? Kaya pwede nang isole yung $999,000. No? Yun nga lang, babalikan natin yung kaso na yan pagdating natin sa bank secrecy law. No? Kasi sabi dyan ni Y, bawal, bank secrecy law, hindi nyo pwedeng buklatin yung peso bank account ko dito kay PS Bank. No? Pero pinayagan niya ng korte because the very subject of the litigation is the money deposited in the account itself. No? But ang idea nga dito, may sobrang bayad or hindi dapat binayad kaya pwedeng ipasole. No? Ganun lang ang idea natin pag solusyo indebiti. Okay? Now, one thing I want to make clear, however, is that not all quasi-contracts are nominate in character. No? Basta nga present yung 3 elements natin, okay, allowed na yan or magiging quasi-contract na rin. Like for example, no, we have this specific provision under the law. Anong nangyari? Ayan. Okay, na supposedly kung may mag-advance ng funeral expenses ng ibang tao, they will be allowed to have reimbursement from the party who is obliged to give support. Now, for that purpose, naging question na yan sa bar exam din. Bakit yung mga questions sa bar exam ang binabanggit natin dito? No? Kasi sila yung situational that will give light, no, or give us clarification with the application of the provision. And supposedly, itong mga questions sa bar exams na ito, yung mga suggested answers dyan ay na-discuss na ng mga experts, no, in that particular field of law. Tayo naman ay hamak lang na reviewer. Hindi naman talaga tayo eksperto pagdating sa civil law, no? Kaya tayo we rely on the expertise of the civil law experts, okay? Hindi dapat tayo yung gumagawa-gawa lang na kung anong maisip nating sagot. Hindi katulad ng mga tinatanong sa board exam. May parinig pa, recorded pa naman tayo. Anyway, so it was asking the board exam, no? Kunwari itong si X, ayan, namatay siya kasi nalunod, no? Supposedly nagkaroon ng bagyo, ito pa yung tanong sa bar exam, nakalagay na nagkaroon ng inundation. Oh, di ba? Yan na yung pangalawang term na maaalala nyo for today, no? So meron tayong inadvertently at meron na tayong inundation. Ano yung ibig sabihin ng inundation? Baha. Yan lang din ang ibig sabihin, no? Kaya kung kayo hybrid, ayan, no? Kasi alam niyo naman talagang sa recto area natin, konting ulan lang talaga bahana. So may experience nyo talaga yan sigurado, no? Pag kayo ay nag face to face. Kaya tatawagan niyo yung nanay or tatay niyo, sabi niyo, "Mapa, late ako makakauwi." Bakit? Kasi inundated dito. O, di ba? So nagkaroon ng baha, namatay si X kasi nalunod, no? Tapos napunta sa isang isla, yung kanyang katawan, no? Yung katawan niya ay napunta sa isla kung saan nakatira si Y. Bilang mabuting tao, ang ginawa nito ni Y, pinaglamay niya muna si X, no? Para makapakolekta siya ng mga tong, yan. So nagpasakla, nagpatong-it, nagpabingo, hindi, joke lang. Ang ginawa niya, pinalibing niya. No, siya ngayon ang nag-shoulder ng funeral expenses para mapalibing itong si X. Na kaya ngayon, kung kunwari itong si Y, nakita niya ngayon itong si Z, no, na tita nitong si X. Tita na lang ang tawag mo sa akin. Niya. Ano? Nalito din. Tita ni X. Ayan. Nalito din. Sa kung anong role talaga. Tita ni X, ito si Z. Ang tanong ngayon dito, no, sa bar exam is why or can Y compel Z, no, to give reimbursement for the funeral expenses that he or she shouldered? The suggested answer was no, no, because the tita supposedly is not among the parties obliged to give support. Kasi yung mga obliged to give support lang, no, ay yung mga magulang, so mother, father, mga kapatid, okay, at yung mga ascendants, descendants, no, yung mga kapatid whether full blood or half blood. Pero wala dun yung mga tinatawag nating collateral relatives, no? Hindi obliged to give support yung mga pinsan, yung mga tito, tita. Eh sir, ako po nagtatrabaho tapos ako pa po ang nagsumusuporta dun sa pamilya ng pinsan ko, ng tita ko, mabait ka lang, no? But you are not obliged under the law. Okay? Wala yan sa family code. Sige, ipapa-canonize ka natin. Pero hindi ka kasali dun sa obliged to give support kaya wala magiging entitlement to reimbursement, no? Pero i-tweak lang natin ng konti yung question. Paano kung kunwari sa bar exam ang naging tanong dito, si Z pala ay tatay. O yan. O, akala nyo, kaya talaga may space doon. Baka akala nyo, pangit lang talaga ako magsulat. No? Para ma-convert lang. Paano ngayon kung kunwari si Z pala ay tatay, no, ni X? Ngayon magiging entitled na ba to reimbursement? The answer is yes. Okay? Pwede na siyang magpa-reimburse. So my third person, again, there is a lawful, voluntary, and unilateral act on the part of Y. No? Because he shouldered the funeral expenses without being obligated to do so. Okay? Kaya ngayon nagkakaroon ng juridical relationship between Y and Z na dapat i-reimburse ni Z si Y for the funeral expenses, no? Because otherwise, no, Z would be unjustly enriched at the expense of Y. Bakit yung mga obliged to give support ang required na dapat mag-reimburse, no? Because under the family code, sila din yung mga taong dapat nag-shoulder ng funeral expenses, no? Yung extent ng support will be up to the funeral expenses. Kaya sila yung required na mag-reimburse dapat. So again, there is a quasi-contract, yun nga lang wala tayong specific na tawag dito sa quasi-contract na ito kaya hindi siya kasali sa nominate quasi-contracts natin. No, I just wanted to clarify na hindi lang solution indemnity at negosyorum hestio yung mga quasi-contracts na meron tayo. Okay? I hope we're clear with that. Ano yung sabi sa chat? Sir, suppose X rejects paying such obligation to Y, pwede bang kunin ni Y yung proceeds from harvesting? You're referring to the negosyorum hestio, no? Well, if X would reject paying the officious manager or the gestor can compel by court action. No, pwede siyang magkaso kasi civil nature, civil obligations ang pinag-uusapan dito kaya pwede niyang kasuhan, no, for the recovery of the compensation. Hindi niya pwedeng i-retain lang yung magiging harvested. Baka mabulok yung mga isda, no? Kaya magkaso na lang siya para siya ay mabayaran. Dami kong tawad dito. Nanonood ako ng live session sa office. Huy, ba't ka kasi nasa opisina? Anyway, now the fourth source of obligation will be delict, no, or ex delicto, obligations ex delicto. No, or in simple terms, minsan na ginagamit na lang dito ay crime. Okay, ganun na lang ang term na ginagamit. But this is an act or omission that is punishable by law. So dapat may batas na nagbabawal, no, dito sa ating gawain ito. The primary law that we usually use, no, pagdating sa mga crimes natin will be the revised penal code. Okay? Pero hindi lang yan, no? Ang nagiging source natin ng obligations arising from a crime. Basta normally dito, nagkakaroon tayo ng criminal liability din, no? Na tinatawag natin na under the revised penal code or that of special penal laws will be imposing the penalty of imprisonment or fine or both, no? Kaya madami tayo niyang i-discuss. Meron tayong data privacy, merong e-commerce law, merong AMLA, no? Lahat yan nagkakaroon din ng mga crimes, no? Other than those that are provided under the revised penal code. Now, under the revised penal code, specifically Article 100, every person criminally liable will also have civil liability. No, kaya kung kunwari nagkaroon ng isang crime, automatic agad yan na meron ng criminal aspect. Okay? At meron din yung civil aspect, no, na tinatawag natin. Okay? Pero itong dalawang ito, by default kasi, or under the rules of criminal procedure, they are normally instituted together. No? Na pag nag-file ka na ng criminal action in court, kasabay niya na rin kagad yung civil action. Pero there are instances na pinapayagan naman na hiwalay, no, na hindi kailangan magkasama. If you want, no, yung criminal action ipa-file ng fiscal, pero kung gusto mo yung civil aspect, pwede mong i-separately institute para hiwalay yung pag-progress. No, yun nga lang, may mga instances na bawal din. Like for example, sa BP22, no, sa BP22 bawal yan paghiwalayin. No, kaya laging magkasama yung criminal and civil aspect when we talk about BP22. Okay? Now, the extent of the civil liability according to Article 104 will include restitution. Okay, kasama din dito yung reparation for the damage caused and all the consequential damages, no, that may be arising from that particular act. No, so hindi lang yung actual damages, but everything that will be a consequence of the crime that was committed will also be demandable. Ang concept lang ng restitution, lalong-lalo na kung may taking, ay isusole. No, pero ang goal natin dyan is supposedly we can return the victim into a state as if the crime never happened to begin with. No, at to the extent possible. Okay? Now, ito lang ang nagiging importante. No? We distinguish the necessary proof required in order to establish criminal liability, which will require proof beyond reasonable doubt. According to the court, the proof beyond reasonable doubt is the highest quantum of proof na meron tayo. No, kasi in our legal situation or in our legal structure, hindi natin pwedeng magkaroon ng tinatawag na absolute certainty. No, kaya pinakamataas na meron tayo yung proof beyond reasonable doubt. No, according to the court, proof beyond reasonable doubt will be that level of proof na yung judge natin ay makakatulog ng mahimbing knowing that he sent the right person to jail. No, na talagang walang duda. Okay, kaya nga ang idea ng beyond reasonable doubt, walang kaduda-duda. No, kaya kung meron lang reasonable doubt, no, in that case pwede ka nang ma-acquit. Okay, basta magkaroon lang ng reasonable doubt. Kaya ganun kataas yan kasi ang sinusunod din dito, no, na principle ng mga judges supposedly ay mas okay nang magpalaya ng 10 kriminal kaysa magpakulong ka ng isang inosente. No, ganun ang concept natin diyan. And supposedly din under the Constitution, every person charged of a crime is considered innocent until proven guilty. No, lagi tayong may ganun. Okay, iba, sir, iba sa social media po, may isa lang na nag-post tapos talagang pinaprosecute na siya ng mga tao, iba yon, no? From a legal perspective lang yung innocent until proven guilty, it may not necessarily translate to what happens in social media. Okay? On the other hand, pag civil liability, preponderance of evidence lang ang hinahanap nating quantum of proof, no? Or paramihan lang ng ebidensya. Kaya nga, just to simplify, no? Pero hindi naman ganun ka-accurate, pero just to put it simply, kung kunwaring ito si X, no? Kinasuhan itong si Y. So si Y dito ang akusado. Okay? Kung si X kunwari ay merong 3 ebidensya na magpapatunay na talagang si Y ang gumawa ng krimen. Pero may isang ebidensya itong si Y na hindi siya ang gumawa ng krimen. Pwede pa rin ba siyang magkaroon ng criminal liability? Wala na. Kasi may reasonable doubt na. Kung may isang credible evidence lang si Y na hindi siya ang gumawa ng krimen. Pero pwede ba siyang magka-civil liability? The answer would be yes. No? Kasi paramihan lang tayo ng ebidensya dito at dahil mas marami yung kay X, pwede nang magkaroon ng civil liability itong si Y. No? Kaya nga nagmamatter dito yung dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng acquittal. Now, when we talk about acquittal, dito ang nawawala na dyan ay yung criminal liability. Okay? Nawawala na ang criminal liability pag sinabi nating acquitted yung accused, no? Kaya supposedly, if the acquittal was because hindi talaga niya ginawa, no, yung act that is being complained of, logically, wala na rin civil liability dapat yan. Kasi hindi naman talaga siya yung gumawa, kaya din siya na-acquit, then dapat wala rin consequence ng civil liability. Pero kung ang dahilan lang kung bakit siya na-acquit or nawala yung criminal liability ay dahil may reasonable doubt, posible pa rin magkaroon ng civil liability, no? Kaya nga sinasabi natin kasi magkaiba yung quantum of proof that will be required. Okay? Now, lastly, with regards obligations arising from DELIC will be the subsidiary liability of our employers. Now, na supposedly for the acts of the employees that will give rise to liability arising from DELIC, na pwede pa rin maging liable din yung employer. Yun nga lang, ang tawag nga natin ay subsidiary. Kaya ibig sabihin, kung kunwari ito si employee, ito yung employer natin, itong si employee was held liable for DELIC. No? Kaya nagkaroon na siya ng criminal, nagkaroon pa ng civil liability. So may criminal liability, may civil liability. No? Pero yung civil liability hindi niya mabayaran kasi nga insolvent siya. Kaya dito, itong civil liability, yan ang sasaluhin ngayon ng kanyang employer. Hindi yung criminal. Grabe naman, employer ka lang, wala ka namang kinalaman doon sa ginawa ng empleyado mo, makukulong ka. No, yung civil liability lang ang minamana ng employer and only if the employee is insolvent. Kaya natin siya tinatawag na subsidiary liability. Kaya ang requirement ulit dito, kinasuhan dapat muna si employee, wala lang makolekta sa kanya, kaya yung employer ngayon ang ginagawa nating liable subsidiarily. Hindi pwedeng si employer agad ang kakasuhan natin. So mamaya we'll make a distinction of that with quasi-delict, no? Which will be the last source of obligation. In obligations, quasi-delicto, ex-quasi-delicto, there are 4 elements that we are looking for. Now, so there's an act or omission, there is damage caused to another, there being fault or negligence, at may causal relationship. Now, na yung damage supposedly is caused by the act or omission of the other party. Okay? Now, supposedly, it will give rise to the payment for those damages. Yun nga lang nakalagay pa sa batas kasi na wala daw silang pre-existing contractual relation. Pero requirement ba ito para magkaroon ng liability under quasi-delict? Hindi. Now, in one case, that was the case of Air France versus Carrascoso. Si Carrascoso is supposedly a first-class passenger ng isang eroplano. Pero pinaalis siya sa eroplano in such a manner na siya ay napahiya. No? Kaya nagkaso siya under quasi-delict. Ang naging argument dito ng airline, hindi ka pwede magkaso under quasi-delict because we have a contract of carriage, no? At nakalagay sa batas na dapat walang pre-existing contractual relation, pero sabi ng Supreme Court pwede, no? Pinayagan siyang magkaso under quasi-delict dahil ang basis ng pagkaso niya is the manner by which he was removed, no? Which is not entirely related solely to the contract of carriage lang, no? Kaya pinayagan pa rin kahit may contractual relation na between the parties. So again, it's not a prerequisite na dapat walang pre-existing contractual relation para maging liable for quasi-delict. So again, the 4 elements is that there must be an act or omission, there being fault nor negligence, and there is damage caused to another person. And there again is a causal relationship. Na yung damage was the direct cause and effect of that of the act or omission of the damage that was caused. Okay? Now, to put it simply, ganito lang kasimple. Kadalasan kasi ang may encounter nating questions dito ay merong nabangga. Kaya kung kunwari, ito yung driver, sabihin dyan sa problem, driving recklessly. Okay, supposedly hit P, a pedestrian. Kaya itong si pedestrian tuloy ay nagkaroon ng injuries. Okay, so ayan. There being act or omission, may act si D na driving recklessly. Okay, so merong negligence, nagkaroon ng damage that was caused to the pedestrian and the injuries were directly caused by the act or the omission of D. Kaya magkakaroon ng obligation arising from quasi-delict. Okay, ganun lang naman kasimple. Kadalasan talaga yung nababangga ang example dito sa quasi-delict. Okay? Ngayon, may tinatawag lang tayong vicarious liability. Ang idea lang dito is that we are responsible, okay, for the damages caused by another person. Kaya nagkakaroon ng vicarious liability kasi hindi ikaw ang gumawa, pero dahil responsibilidad mo, nagkakaroon katuloy ng liability. Okay? Beginning with the children, the liability will be primarily resting on their father. Pero kung wala yung father or incapacitated din yung nanay. Kasi imagine kung kunwari, nakipagsuntukan yung bata, tapos nag-cause ng injury sa kanyang kasuntukan. Tapos nung kinakasuhan na for civil liability dahil sa ginastos pang paggamot, sabihin lang niya, minor po ako eh. Incapacitated po, wala po akong pera pambayad. Yung tatay ang magiging civilly liable. Because supposedly nga the parents are responsible for the acts of their children. Okay? Ganon din kung guardian man dahil wala ng parents. Okay? And the employees with regards that the owners and the managers will be the one liable for the services that they are rendering. So papasok dyan yung mga waiters, okay? Yung mga delivery persons, yan yung mga pwedeng pumasok dyan. Or yung mga pupils or students while they are in the custody of the children or of the teachers rather, kaya nagkakaroon din yan ng vicarious liability kapag nasa school, okay, or the heads of the establishment. Although ito kadalasan, yung nagiging tanong dito with regards to the employees, okay, ang kadalasan na lumalabas with regards vicarious liability, okay, and special agents of the state. In that case, the state will be the one responsible for the acts of those special agents. Okay? Now, ito lang, i-distinguish natin kasi with regards the employer for delict, no, dito may defense tayo na merong diligence of a good father of a family with regards the selection and supervision of the employee. No, ibig sabihin na defense siya, pwede ka nang hindi maging liable kung mapapatunayan mo na meron ka namang in-exercise na due diligence in the selection and supervision of the employees. No? And take note dito na vicarious liability is primary and direct. Okay, in character, no? Kaya to summarize lang, no, yung magiging distinction natin para makita nyo lang yung magiging distinction, okay, between delict and quasi-delict, no, as to an employer. Okay, pag delict, again, ang tawag natin ay subsidiary liability lang. Okay, dito ang tawag natin vicarious, no? Kaya yung nature nga nito ay direct and primary. Na supposedly, okay, sa delict natin, para maging liable yung employer, dapat kinasuhan muna si employee. No? Pero sa quasi-delict, pwedeng si employer na agad. Okay? In fact, in some instances, this is even referred to as solidary in character. No? Na pwede na ngang kagad si employer ang ating kakasuhan. No? Ang pinagkaiba nga lang dito as to the nature, okay, yung availability ng defense natin dito, no? As to the diligence. Due diligence with regards the selection and supervision of the employees, applicable lang yan pag quasi-delict. Pero hindi yan mag-a-apply kapag pag delict ang pinag-uusapan natin. No? Yan ang magiging differences between the nature and the, whether you can raise the defense of diligence in the selection and supervision of the employee. Okay? Now, take note that one single act can give rise to multiple sources of obligation. No? Na hindi naman ibig sabihin na isang act na naganap, iisa lang yung laging source of obligation na hinahanap natin. Okay? Kasi kung kunwari, no, ito si O, may-ari siya ng jeep. No? Tapos itong jeep na ito ay dinadrive ni D. Okay? At dahil reckless yung pagdadrive nito ni D, ang nangyari tuloy dyan, no, nabangga niya si P, the pedestrian. Okay? Let's call him P1. No? At supposedly, nagkaroon din ng injury itong ating si P2, no, na yung kanyang passenger naman. Okay? So isa lang dito, reckless driving lang ang act na pinag-uusapan natin. But what will be the sources of obligation, no, na pwedeng mangyari dito? With regards the pedestrian, okay, pwede niyang kasuhan dito si D, yung driver. Na ano ang magiging sources of obligation ng driver dito? Quasi-delict. Okay, kasi supposedly nga, andali, ayusin ko. Quasi-delict. Kasi supposedly nga there is an act, no, or omission, or in this case, an act of reckless driving, there being negligence that caused damage to another party and the damage was directly caused by the act or negligence. No? Kaya nga nagkakaroon ng liability under quasi-delict. Kung kunwari naman yung pedestrian natin dito, no, ay na-injure din, pwede ba din dito na delict ang magiging kaso sa kanya? Pwede rin. No? Kasi magiging reckless imprudence resulting to physical injuries. So may specific crime, no, that is punished under the revised penal code with regards the act that was done by the driver. No? Ngayon, pwede bang kasuhan din ng pedestrian itong si O na owner? The answer is yes. No? Pwede siyang maging vicariously liable under quasi-delict at pwede rin siyang maging liable under delict, no, subsidiarily. Okay? Pero sabi nga natin, sa quasi-delict pwedeng kagad si O na yung kakasuhan, okay? Pero sa delict naman kailangan kinasuhan muna si driver. Pag wala lang pambayad, tsaka magiging liable si owner-employer. No, gawin na nga nating OER. Ayan. Okay, para owner-employer. Okay, now, si passenger, pwede ba siyang magkaso dito laban kay driver? The answer is yes. Now, ang magiging sources of obligation ng driver ay quasi-delict din for the same requisites at pwede ring delict for reckless imprudence resulting to physical injuries. Now, pwede ba dito kay owner? Employer, pwede rin. Magiging quasi-delict din for vicarious liability at pwede ring subsidiarily liable for delict. Although, in addition to that, magiging liable din si owner or employer under contract. Okay, pwede rin, no? Kasi may contract of carriage between the passenger and the owner-employer. What I wanted to highlight here, no, is that the contract will be between the owner-employer and that of the passenger, no, not between the passenger and the driver. Okay, kaya yung obligation arising from contract will be applicable only to the owner-employer. Now, and what we are highlighting here also is that there is one single act, no, that of reckless driving, but it gave rise to multiple sources of obligation, no? Kaya hindi naman bawal, no? Ibig sabihin, pwede or possible na isa lang yung act na pinag-uusapan natin pero marami ang nagiging sources of obligation that results from the same, no? Yun nga lang ang mapapansin nyo, sabi natin kanina, no, na kapag delict, normally hindi na sumasabay dyan yung quasi-contract. Kasi sa quasi-contract, dapat lawful yung act, no? And pagdating sa delict, sabi natin dapat punishable by law, kaya hindi lawful. Okay? Kaya normally yung delict, no, at yung ating quasi-contract yung hindi nagsasabay na sources of obligation. Okay? Now, take note however na kahit multiple sources ang obligation natin, hindi pinapayagan na magkaroon ng double recovery. So sabi natin, kung quasi-delic yan na meron ding delic, hindi pinagbabawalan na magkaso ka for both. No? Kaya nga kunwari, yung example natin kanina si pedestrian, no? Sabi natin, pwede niyang kasuhan yung driver, kay under quasi-delic, pwede rin naman under delic, no? At pwede yung separate cases na ipa-file natin, okay? Yun nga lang, kung sakaling manalo siya on both cases, hindi siya pinapayagan siya na makarecover twice, no? Kasi kung kunwari sa quasi-delic, inawardan siya ng 500,000. Sa delic, inawardan siya ng 800. Magkano ngayon ang marirecover niya? Yung 800,000 lang. No? Hindi naman ibig sabihin na whichever is first, no? Whichever is higher. Okay? Yun lang ang i-allow natin na recovery, no, ng damages para sa kanya. Pero hindi sila pinagsasama na 1.3 million ang kanyang makukuha. Okay? So those will be our sources of obligation. In that case, ito ang magiging tips ko sa inyo, no, when you're studying RFBP or other subjects for that matter, unang-una, ang focus talaga ng inyong pag-aaral ay supposedly on understanding, no, the concepts. Okay? We don't aim to memorize, no, because pag nagme-memorize ka lang, ang nagiging tendency kasi dyan is very limited lang yung mga types of questions na masasagutan mo. No, unlike when you do understand the concept, kahit batuhan ka ng problem type question or case type questions, masasagot mo pa rin kasi you know how to apply, no, the provisions of the law. Okay? Pangalawa, pag naintindihan na ang concept, tsaka ka magpa-practice sa mga multiple choice questions, no? Kaya may MCQs tayo sa handouts, no? Merong MCQs din yung mga libro, no? Kaya yung mga papapracticean mo to reinforce the concepts and to check, no, kung talaga bang tama yung understanding mo. Pangatlo, it's really helpful na meron kayo mga study groups, no? Kung kayo ay pure online, I suppose you can set up groups amongst yourselves, no, na mag-set kayo ng date na ganitong oras mag-meet tayo kahit online lang, no, via Zoom or via Messenger or via Viber for that matter. Tapos, ang gagawin nyo lang ay magtanungan. No? Kasi nung sa bar, I found it very helpful na gano'n na may mga kaibigan ako na pag nakikita kami, talagang batuhan lang kami ng tanong. Kaya ang nagiging approach mo tuloy sa pag-aaral, when you're reading, no, ang nagiging approach mo is paano ko to i-explain. No? Kasi gagawan ko to ng tanong, tatanungin ko siya, paano ko ipapaliwanag na mali siya? No? Or kung bakit siya nagkamali or kung bakit siya tama for that matter. No? And when your approach in reading is in a way you're trying to understand how you will explain it, no? Medyo mas malalim kasi yung nagiging understanding mo and yung retention. Kaya pagdating mo sa recall stage, medyo mas simple na. Okay? And pang-apat, you take notes. No? Very important na meron kayong sariling notes ninyo. No? Preferably handwritten kung kaya. No? And there was a study pa, no, that I've read before na supposedly it helps you remember better kung blue ink ang ginagamit nyo sa pagsusulat. So it wouldn't hurt, di ba, na mag-blue ink ka. Pero importante talaga na nag-notes ka, no? Kasi aside from remembering what you've actually listened to, no, and read, you're actually remembering din kung saan mo siya sinulat, no? May tendency yan na, ito nasa upper left portion to ng notes ko, ganun. No? Kaya it helps you remember better also. No? Panglima, kaya sabi nila, olfactory memory helps. No? Kaya pag ikaw ay nagbabasa or nag-aaral, no, you have this certain scent that is available. So pabango, lagay mo sa panyo, no? Ganun habang nag-aaral ka. When you actually take the exam, no, or when you need to recall, you have the same scent available. It helps you remember, no, yung familiarity ng scent. Magiging makakatulong yan, no? And importante talaga pa rin na meron kayong sapat na tulog, no? I cannot overemphasize this enough that you have to take at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep, no, para kasi it's an important part of the learning process kasi aanhin mo na natapos mo nga, no, lahat ng kailangan mong basahin pero hindi mo naman ma-retain dahil nga ikaw ay pagod, no, or puyat, no? Kaya nagma-matter din that you take the necessary rest. Okay? Pero syempre magpapahinga ka dahil nag-aral ka na ng gusto. Hindi naman pwedeng puro pahinga lang, no? Ang hirap naman no, nagpapahinga ka from what, di ba? Ano po kaya magandang books na bilhin sa RFBT, sabi ni Anonymous Attendee. Na I've heard that the book of Andrix Domingo is good, no? If you're looking for a lot of multiple choice questions, although I haven't personally read it, okay, or used it, okay, pero sabi nila okay daw yon. Okay din daw yung book ni Attorney Fidelito Soriano, which for the record, ayan, para once and for all, no, wala na magtatanong, hindi ko po siya kamag-anak, hindi ko pa po siya nakikita, hindi ko po maalala, Your Honor. No? Pero hindi ko po talaga siya kilala. Hindi po talaga kami magkamag-anak. Wala po akong kamag-anak na Soriano other than sa tatay ko at mga kapatid ko. No? Kaya hindi ko rin po talaga siya kilala. Pero okay daw yung libro niya. I think ang problem lang with that is parang wala ata yung special laws. No? And yung book ni Attorney Ko Untian, no, with regards MCQs, it's just that also hindi rin ata siya updated. No? Pero those are the other references that you may utilize for RFBP. Sir, effective po ba yung Bear Brand with Ginkgo biloba? Hindi ko rin sigurado pero it doesn't hurt naman kasi if you drink it, no? Yun nga lang syempre kung baka mamaya may allergic reaction ka or may adverse effects sa'yo, pakiramdaman mo lang din para wag mo namang ipilit, no? Baka mamaya sa kagustuhan mong ma-enhance ang memory mo, no, yung katawan mo naman ang mag-suffer, di ba? So, wag na lang ipilit kung sakali magkakaroon ng adverse effect. But it should be safe, no? Kasi nga milk naman. Kaya normally I take it with coffee eh. No, siya na lang yung ginagamit kong milk or creamer sa coffee ko. Kahit po ba yung 29 edition ng book sa RFBT, okay pa po? Yes, on some topics, no? But if you are going to compare it with the 2022 syllabus, marami-raming topics na nawala dyan. No, kung 2019 edition pa yung book. Kasi nga medyo madaming nadagdag sa 2022 na syllabus. No? Kaya it wouldn't be as usable, no, as compared to the ones that will be updated. Okay, pero it should still be applicable with some topics, traditional topics like obligations, contracts, sales, credit transactions, BP22, no, pareho pa rin naman yan. Sa Corpo, hindi na yan effective kasi mayroon ng amendments that were introduced in 2021. No? Sa AMLA, ang dami na rin naging changes. So, yun, you take it lang with a little more diligence, I suppose, no, in using the old books. Okay, kasi nga may mga bago na. Anyway, so moving forward, ayan, sana makatulong sa inyo yung mga tips na yan. Now, the kinds of obligations. So, first classification ng obligations natin that we have already discussed will be with regards enforceability, na as to civil and natural. Okay, at this point, we're going to discuss the specific kinds of obligations now that have separate chapters in the civil code, beginning with those classification as to perfection and extinguishment. So, for this purpose, we have the pure obligations na walang condition at wala ring period. Na ang idea ng pure obligation natin is that they are immediately demandable. No, demandable at once na kasi wala na tayong inaantay na period, wala na tayong inaantay pa na condition na mangyayari. No, unlike what we call a conditional obligation, as the name would suggest, may condition pa. No, and the effect of the condition will be either the acquisition of rights or the extinguishment, okay, of those that are already existing. No, kaya ang primary classification natin ng condition will be suspensive. Okay, yan yung number one, the happening of which will give rise to the acquisition of rights, and yung tinatawag nating resolutory, that will result in the extinguishment of those that are already existing. Kaya technically speaking, if an obligation is subjected to a resolutory condition, it is immediately demandable na rin. No? Kasi yung hiniantay natin na mangyayari, no, will extinguish the already demandable obligation. No? At dyan nga papasok yung condition that is supposedly an event that is uncertain, which may or may not happen, or a past event that already happened but unknown to the parties. Okay? As opposed to what we call an obligation with a term, or sometimes referred to an obligation with a period, okay, that will give rise supposedly also to the happening of the obligation. Meron din tayo dyan tinatawag na suspensive term. Okay, the happening of which, no, will give rise or kung kailan magiging demandable ang obligation, or pwede rin namang resolutory. Okay, dito naman din yun, pareho din ang effect na it will terminate, no, the obligation upon the arrival of a certain term. Pero ang mapapansin nyo, no, ang ginagamit natin sa conditional obligation na term ay happening, kasi nga supposedly it may or may not happen. Pero kapag period or term ang pinag-uusapan, ang term na ginagamit natin ay arrival. No? Kasi when we talk about a term or a period, it is a date or a term that is supposed, or rather certain to happen. No, that it will actually arrive, no, or even an event, no, that is certain to happen will likewise be considered as a term or a period. No, so dito muna tayo sa specific rules with regards conditional obligations, beginning with what we call potestative. Now, when we talk about a potestative condition, this will be dependent solely upon the will of one of the parties only. Now, as opposed to what we call a condition that is supposedly casual, no, that will be dependent upon chance only. No? Kapag dependent upon the will of the parties, potestative ang tawag natin. Ngayon, ano nagiging effect kapag meron tayong potestative condition? It may result in the obligation being void. No? At kailan magiging void yan? Kapag suspensive ang character ng potestative condition natin, and at the same time, it is dependent upon the debtor. No? Kaya mawala lang ang isa sa dalawang yan, valid na. And when we talk about void here, the void here is the obligation itself, not just the condition. No? Kaya kung kunwari, sabi dito ni debtor kay creditor, I will give to you 100,000 pesos if I draw a circle. So meron ka ditong condition, no, na yung pagdodraw ng circle. Pero yung dito, the condition is suspensive. No? Kaya sabi natin, si D magiging obligated lang na magbigay kay C ng 100,000 pag nangyari na yung condition. So suspensive na siya. No? Pero dependent solely upon the will of the debtor. Kasi pwede siyang mag-drawing ng circle, pwedeng hindi. No? Kaya ang ginagawa dito ng batas, nagiging void na. No? Kapag suspensive and potestative upon the will of the debtor. No? Bakit? Kasi supposedly, no, parang naglolokohan lang. Sabi ng batas, the usual tendency on the part of the debtor ay ayaw niya na mangyari yung condition na yan, no? Kaya hindi niya gagawin. Kaya ang nagiging datingan tuloy sa simula pa lang naglolokohan lang sila, no, na merong obligation pero hindi naman talaga magi-give rise sa obligation yan dahil nga ayaw naman ng debtor. No? Kaya in that case, ginagawa ng batas, naglolokohan lang kayo, gawin na lang nating void from the beginning. No? Kaya ganyan talaga, pag naglolokohan lang kayo to begin with, void na talaga yan. No? Kaya Kung ano-ano naiisip. Anyway, na pero mawala lang isa, no? Kasi sabihin natin kunwari, ang sinabi dito ay if you okay, draw a circle, no? Magiging valid na ba yan? The answer is yes. Kasi kahit yan ay suspensive, it is dependent solely on the will of the creditor na, no? And the usual tendency is that the creditor would want the condition to actually arise, no? Para maging demandable siya. Kaya nagiging valid na kung dependent upon the will of the creditor. Or kung kunwari, sabihin natin, na de-oblige himself to give 100,000 to C, no? Tapos ang nakalagay dyan ay if or rather I will allow you to use my car, ayan, until okay, I draw a circle. So in this case, nagiging resolutory na, no, yung nature ng condition natin kasi demandable at once yung obligation natin at mag-extinguish lang upon the happening of the condition, no? Kaya in that case, magiging valid na ba yan? The answer will be yes, no? Dahil hindi na nga suspensive yung nature. Again, in order to be considered void, dapat suspensive yung condition and dependent solely on the will of the debtor lamang, no? Mawala nga lang ang isa sa dalawang yan, magiging valid na yung obligation natin. Okay? Now, pangalawa, yung concept natin ng constructive fulfillment. Dito, hindi nangyari yung condition, no? Dahil supposedly the obligor or the debtor prevented the fulfillment of the condition. But under the law, dahil nga pinigilan lang niya, no? Kaya hindi na fulfill. Ang ginagawa tuloy ng batas, it will be deemed fulfilled already. Ito natanong yan in the bar exam also, no? Kunwari itong si X, okay, entered into a contract for a piece of work with Y, no? Itong si Y yung client, ito nga yung si X yung contractor. Okay, the agreement was for X to construct the house of Y. Okay, gagawa ng bahay, no? Pero ang agreement kasi nila, magbabayad ng down payment na 1 million pesos at yung balanse na 1 million pesos ay babayaran lamang upon completion. Okay, nung bahay. So ito yung pinag-uusapan natin dito na obligation with a suspensive condition on the part of Y. No, nababayaran lang niya yung balanse kapag natapos na yung bahay na kino-construct. Ang ginawa dito ni Y in the bar exam question ay binakuran niya, no, yung kanyang bahay na ginagawa. Hindi pa tapos yung bahay, binakuran niya na. Kaya tuloy yung mga empleyado ng contractor ay hindi na makapasok at hindi nila ngayon matapos yung bahay. Ang tanong ngayon dito sa bar exam, can X demand for the payment of the 1 million balance already? The answer is yes. No, kasi nga, since the debtor, in this case, the client or Y voluntarily prevented the fulfillment of the suspensive condition, it is deemed fulfilled by operation of law. Kaya magiging demandable na rin yung obligation to pay the 1 million balance. Okay? Ganyan yung mechanism, no? Kung paano nag-work itong constructive fulfillment. Okay? Now, pangatlong rule natin on conditions will be on impossible condition. Pero take note, para maging void yung obligation, again, not just the condition, but the obligation itself, to be void, dapat ito ay positive, no? Which is something that will require a certain act. Okay? And as opposed to a negative condition, no, that will require an omission na wag mong gawin ang isang bagay, no? Kasi kung kunwari yan, sige, the kinds of impossibility can be physical, no? Dahil hindi ito pwedeng gawin physically speaking. Like for example, kadalasan na makikita nyo dyan ay go to the sun. Okay? Or draw a circle that is at the same time a square. No, yan yung mga physically impossible, no, na mga conditions natin. On the other hand, we call it legal impossibility kapag contrary to law, no, or illegal in any manner. Like for example, yung pagbebenta ng drugs. Okay, yan, no, consider yan as illegal. Eh sir, dun po sa lugar namin, parang normal lang yung bentanan, kahit na, no. Hindi ito tungkol sa lugar nyo lang. Okay, bawal pa rin, supposedly. No, yan yung mga physical at legal impossibility natin. Kaya kung kunwari, si debtor, sabi niya kay creditor, no, bibigyan kita ng 1,000,000, no, kung sakasakali na ikaw ay pupunta sa sun. Okay, pupunta ka doon sa araw. So physically impossible 'yan. Bakit ginagawang void ng batas, no? Similar to that of potestative conditions, ginagawa na lang itong void ng batas dahil naglolokohan lang sila. No, dahil alam na naman nila from the beginning na hindi talaga magagawa. Okay, yung condition na ito, kaya ginagawa na lang natin na void yung obligation from the start, no? Dahil nga ayaw talaga ng batas ng paligoy-ligoy at naglolokohan lang kayo, no? Kaya ginagawa iba yung delivery talaga. Naglolokohan lang kayo, no? Kaya ginagawa na lang yung void ng batas, no? Pero take note nga, positive dapat. Kasi kung sinabi dyan kunwari na I will give you 1 million pesos if you do not go to the sun. So hindi niya naman talaga magagawa, no, yung ganyang condition. It will be treated as if it is always fulfilled na lang, no? At magiging immediately demandable na yung obligation natin. Okay? Or kaya sasabihin diyan, no, meron kang kapatid na addict, sabi, bibigyan kita ng 100,000 kung hindi ka bibili ng drugs. Ayan, magiging demandable pa rin yan at valid kasi nga negative, no, yung pag-state natin ng impossible condition. Okay? Kaya in that case, magiging valid na if negative naman or not to do, no, yung condition na nilalagay natin na impossible condition. Okay? Now, with regards to the effect of the fulfillment of the condition, as a general rule, it would retroact to the day the obligation was constituted. So ganito yan. Kunwari, itong si debtor, no? Sabi ni debtor kay creditor, bibigyan kita ng kotse. Okay? If you pass the sipale. Oh, sana all, di ba? Yung mga may ganyang reward, no? Dati, naalala ko tuloy nung college, yung kaibigan ko, nag-number 1 sa odd prob namin na major exam, binigyan siya ng cellphone ng kanyang mga magulang. No? Tanta lang ako, number 1 ako over all the entire batch. Tas wala lang. May ganyan talaga. Anyway, so bibigyan daw ni debtor si creditor ng kotse kung sakaling papasa siya, nagdrama pa, no? Papasa siya ng sipale, no? Ngayon, kunwari January 1, ang pinag-usapan na ito, tas October, ayan. Kunwari pumasa na ng October. Ang magiging treatment natin as if yung kotse na ito ay kay creditor na, no, from January 1 pa lang. Okay? Kasi nga magre-retroact to the day the obligation was constituted. Okay? Take note, however, that when we talk about retroactivity, hindi yan mag-a-apply when we talk about fruits. No, hindi yan mag-a-apply. So dito magma-matter kung yung fruits or yung obligation natin rather is reciprocal, in which case ang treatment natin ay mutually compensated, no, or in layman's terms na ginagamit natin ay quits. Okay, quits na lang, no? Yung mga fruits na meron, yung reciprocal obligations na yan, or kung unilateral naman yung obligation, generally it belongs to the debtor, no? Yung fruits na ito. Kaya walang nagiging retroactivity na mag-a-apply dito. So for example, no, in 1 bar exam question, sabi ni X kay Y, I will sell, ayan. Okay, to you my house and lot. So January to for example, no? January nung kinonstitute yung obligation, sabi, I will sell to you my house and lot if you pass the October. Okay, sipale, no? At dito nga pumasa na, hindi ko pa rin talaga sanay na lekpa yung tawag, no? Parang ano rin, ang pangit pakinggan. Pero supposedly kasi ano yan eh, para i-align with the other examinations, no? Kasi nga licensure exams for CPAs, no? Licensure exams for mechanical engineers, ganun yung mga tawag, no? Kaya para to align, ginawa ng lekpa yung term. Pero hindi pa rin kaya ng damdamin ko kasi ang pangit pakinggan ng lekpa. Parang ano, parang may sasayaw pagkatapos. Lekpa, 1, 2, 3. Oh, anyway, now yan yung naging yung condition natin, no? Napapasa itong si Y, no, ng ating October na sipale, no? Tapos ngayon, let's say pumasa na nga ng October. Ang question dito sa bar exam, supposedly ay merong rent. Okay? Kasi leased, no, yung premises. Itong house and lot pala ay leased, kaya nagkaroon ng rental income. Ang tanong ngayon dito, who is entitled to the rental income? Now, for the period January to October, no, from the day the obligation was constituted to the time the suspensive condition was fulfilled. No? And the suggested answer of the UP Law Center was X. Now, bakit si X ang entitled sa rental? Take note, ang obligation niya dito ay